In the news this week, Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris as his vice president. The media continues to suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, and a historic agreement is brokered between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, pushing the Middle East one step further towards peace. It is August 15th, 2020, and you're watching Classical Herrmann. Also, it's my dog's birthday. Look at her. She's so cute. Joe Biden picks Kamala Harris. Yes, it's true. The 70% taxing, flip-flopping, gun-grabbing senator from the great state of California will be on the executive ticket in November, which raises the question, was it a good move for Joe Biden? Short answer, no. Long answer, no. See, the primary appeal of Joe Biden was a simple fact that he was a moderate establishment politician who likes Republicans and, above all else, is not Donald Trump. See, this VP choice may have been the most important VP choice in American history. This is because Joe Biden is in an obvious state of mental decline. The man slurs and stumbles his way through speeches, forgets where he is, loses track of what he's saying, and there's a very significant chance that for one reason or another, he will not serve out his entire first term. This means that whoever he chooses for vice president may very well finish off said term. This means that the 2020 presidential election will be just as much about Biden as it is about his vice president, in this case Harris. This would lead a rational candidate to pick a vice president who has a similar appeal to themselves. That is precisely where the Biden campaign failed. GovTrack has ranked Harris as the most liberal representative in the United States Senate. She has constantly voted with the radical left on budget-blasting, freedom-curbing policies, and she is perfectly comfortable pushing the boundaries of the Constitution to advance her radical leftist agenda. She even went as far as to say this in a CNN town hall.
My response to you, upon being elected, I will give the United States Congress 100 days to get their act together and have the courage to pass reasonable gun safety laws. And if they fail to do it, then I will take executive action. And specifically what I will do is put in place a requirement that for anyone who sells more than 5 guns a year, they are required to do background checks when they sell those guns.
Even Joe Biden, yes, the man himself, Joe freaking Biden, challenged her on this in the primary debates.
They said, I'm going to issue an executive order. Biden saying there's no constitutional authority to issue that executive order when they say I'm going to eliminate assault weapons, saying you can't do it by executive order any more than Trump can do things when he says he can do it by executive order. Does the vice president have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional. We got a constitution.
And yes, we can, because
Notice, Biden says it's unconstitutional to ban assault weapons through executive order, a position, by the way, that was not in Harris's original statement, and yet Harris still responds with yes, we can. Any rational person should be worried about this. Kamala Harris clearly has even less regard for the Constitution than Joe Biden. She doesn't actually care if her actions run counter to our founding document. Instead, she only cares about what she can ram through the courts. Here's a little known fact about our system. Just because the Supreme Court decides in favor of a decision doesn't mean it's actually constitutional. The Supreme Court can be wrong. And if Harris somehow pushes an unconstitutional assault weapons ban through without even getting congressional approval, there will be serious trouble. The Second Amendment isn't for hunting or sports or even necessarily for personal self-defense. It is in place purely in the Constitution as a bulwark against domestic or foreign government intervention on the freedoms of the American people. We have the right to powerful, modern weaponry in order to defend from a powerful, modern military were they ever to infringe on our basic human rights. If the right to bear arms is knocked down, then all other rights are left exposed to tyranny, and yet Biden chose Harris. The media can't help but gush over her, making any questioning of her or criticism of her policies out to be a racist lie. At a press conference, President Trump was asked about an article questioning her U.S. citizenship and eligibility to run for office. Here's that clip.
Whether or not Kamala Harris is eligible, meets the legal requirements to run as vice president.
So I just heard that. I heard it today. that she doesn't meet the requirements. And by the way, the lawyer that wrote that piece is a very highly qualified, very talented lawyer. But that's a very serious. You're saying that they're saying that she doesn't qualify because she wasn't born in this country.
No, she was born in this country, but her parents did not. The claims say that her parents did not receive their permanent residence at that
Yeah,
time.
I don't know about it. I just heard about it. I'll take a look.
Now, Trump has a history of going after political rivals based on their eligibility to be president. He quite famously questioned the citizenship of Barack Obama, and also during the 2016 primary made a big deal out of Ted Cruz being born in Canada. A normal person will see this clip and think, hey, maybe don't go there this time around. A rational person will see that Trump is clearly playing politics and trying to find any reason to undermine his rival campaign, which is irritating, but ultimately it's politics. CNN, however, is not staffed with normal nor rational people. Trump's birther lie magnifies racist themes of his campaign. See, guys, it's racism. The article then goes on to open with this, and I quote, President Donald Trump once again drove the dignity of the American presidency into the ditch this week by raising a false and racist conspiracy theory about Kamala Harris, elevating the efforts of the alt-right to portray her as other because of her mixed race heritage. It was not surprising that Trump would try to exploit Harris's background for political gain, given that he is running the most racially charged presidential campaign that America has seen since the 1968 run of former Alabama Governor George Wallace. Wow. Wow. How are you supposed to describe that? Well, I can describe it in a couple words. Batshit crazy. The most racially charged campaign since George Wallace? Is CNN now openly saying that Trump is a modern-day segregationist? Am I the only one who sees how astonishing of a leap this is? Not only did Trump not even make the claim that the birther notion was true or address the issue with anything other than skepticism as seen in the video, but even if he had, it would be the same line of argument he used against Ted Cruz in 2016. Was it racist then? No. Is it racist now? No, but CNN will obviously claim it is because CNN is a pro-Biden political action committee. The article goes on to talk about the recent press conference where the president criticized low-income housing policies put forward by the Obama administration. Quote, he has repeatedly made appeals to suburban white voters, specifically women he describes as suburban housewives, warning that policies created by the Obama-Biden administration to dismantle segregation in housing will destroy their neighborhoods. This is false. It is outright false. It's a lie, and CNN should be ashamed of themselves. Here's what Trump actually said about the Obama era low-income housing policies.
What exactly do you mean by invasion?
What I mean is people are going to become, they're going to be opening up areas of your neighborhood, which they're doing, and now they wanted to expand it, and they will expand it. If for any reason they're going to, in my opinion, destroy suburbia. And just so you understand, 30% plus of the people living in suburbia are minorities. African American, Asian American, Hispanic American. You go in and they want to change zoning so that you have lots of problems where they want to build low-income housing. You want something where people can aspire to be there, not something where it gets hurt badly. And that's what happens. So with suburban women, suburban men, I think they feel very strongly about what I'm doing. It's
The president made it very clear. He's not looking out for white suburban residents, but suburban residents in general. This is actually a quite clever political maneuver that the left often pulls. They implement a policy or set of policies on the basis of fighting racism, and then when anyone opposes or questions the virtues of these policies themselves or repeals them in this case, they immediately brand that person as a racist. Also, just to mention, who's actually carrying out the implementation of these new rules? Ah, yes, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, who supports these reforms. Ben Carson. Yes, the vicious, racist Ben Carson. I give up. Finally, there is some actual good news from the Middle East as Israel and the United Arab Emirates came to a historic deal. The two states, with historically poor and tense relations, have agreed to establish a full normalization of relations under the condition that Israel forgoes annexation of parts of the West Bank, the largest of the Palestinian territories. It should be noted that Israel doesn't actually have to alter its military or diplomatic actions towards Palestine. What this deal signified, however, was the recognition of the fact that both Jewish Israel and the United Arab Emirates show a common enemy in Iran, and that their geopolitical focus should be directed at the Ayatollah Khomeini. This deal was brokered by the Trump administration and notably Jared Kushner, and could potentially be the first step in dialing down tensions between Israel and her neighboring Arab powers. The deal has, obviously, because it is actually a good deal, been condemned by both the Palestinian Authority and the theocratic authoritarian government of Iran. The situation really highlights the difference between politics and geopolitics. Politically speaking, I, and most moral, westernized citizens, have serious disapproval over the hyper-conservative, not that kind of conservative, government of the United Arab Emirates. However, geopolitically, the United Arab Emirates is a friend of the West, and most importantly, does not continuously fund attacks against the United States and her allies. Iran and Palestine are governed by terrorists and terrorist sponsors. Palestine in particular has 74 of the 132 seats in their legislative council occupied by the terrorist organization Hamas. As bad as the UAE may treat women and as militaristic as Israel may be, they are coming together in opposition to a common enemy, coming together in opposition to terror. Perhaps the world isn't totally fucked after all. I'm Reese Herman, and this has been Classical Herrmann.